Gillum from the city of Tallahassee, thank you so much for joining us. We still have ongoing tornadoes in the middle of the country. Let's go back to the state of Iowa. This is just south of Des Moines, where we have a tornado warning in effect for Polk County, in effect till 7 p.m. Central Time. That's including Warren County. This is just south of Des Moines, so heads up there. And if you are in Norwalk, you need to be taking shelter right now. Most interior room, lowest floor. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. More on the tornadoes and Michael when we come back.
Do these moves look familiar? Then you might have a condition called dry mouth. Biotine is clinically proven to soothe and moisturize a dry mouth, plus it freshens breath. Biotine, immediate and long-lasting dry mouth symptom relief.
Behold, the Pacifica Hybrid.
It's half gas, half electric.
Kind of like I'm half mom, half comedy sensation. What?
More like half mom, half got dressed in the dark.
Half drama queen, half accessory stealer. Yeah, I know that's my bracelet.
Mom, how long are you two gonna do this?
With a 566-mile driving range, I can do this all day. Oh! Hope we see some of your friends.
If you have a water emergency, call the certified professionals at Stanley Steamer and get back to dry.
For 24-hour emergency water restoration,
call 1-800-STEAMER. Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner.
Today's Best Western rewards you in a flash. Get a free night fast with points that never expire at over 4,200 hotels worldwide. And get double rewards points on every stay. Book now at bestwestern.com.
Incomparable design makes it beautiful. State-of-the-art technology makes it brilliant. The Lexus NX. Experience the crossover in its most visionary form. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
To look at me now, you don't see psoriasis. You see clear skin.
Cosentyx can help people with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis find clear skin that can last. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms if your inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen, or if you've had a vaccine or plan to. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
How sexy on these elbows?
Ask your dermatologist about Cosentyx.
Make sure whatever you're into outside doesn't ruin your vehicle's inside. WeatherTech keeps you protected with everything from cargo liners, bump step, and side window deflectors to our laser measured floor liners. Order yours today at WeatherTech.com. The ultimate protection for your vehicle.
It's like a storm that cuts a path, it breaks your will, it feels like that, you think you're lost, but you're not lost.
As this magnificent species edges closer to extinction, illegal hunting continues to rise. Are you ready to let her go? For a gift of $8 a month, you can symbolically adopt a snow leopard and help protect them and other endangered species and their habitats. Call now or go online to helpwwf.org and receive this adoption kit as thanks. Will you stand by her? Please, help us stop the killing today.
Every season, every storm, every time you watch, trust in the Weather Channel.
A flood watch is in effect. Currently in our area, 69 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, considerable cloudiness with occasional rain showers. Low 48. Chance of rain 50%. Wednesday, considerable cloudiness. High 55. Winds west-northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Wednesday night, Partly cloudy, low 36. Winds northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back to our live continuing team coverage on Hurricane Michael. We do have a new intermediate public advisory from the National Hurricane Center. This is not a new track and intensity forecast. It's an update on the position, the pressure, and the winds. Now, the maximum sustained winds are still at 120 miles per hour, okay? Category 3 hurricane, but the pressure has come down a little bit more, now down to 953 millibars, still moving north at 12 miles per hour. The hurricane hunters are out there, both the Air Force and the NOAA hurricane hunters. And let me show you what some of those data have revealed. They've been flying around making 2 passes. And here is one time within the last 45 minutes or so where they measured based on what's called the SFMR, the stepped frequency microwave radiometer. Sometimes we call that the SMRF. What's that? It is an instrument that looks at the ocean surface in microwave radiation, and it can estimate surface wind speeds. And it was measuring something near that 120 miles per hour. Now, the flight level data, if you were to reduce those to the surface, suggest something a little bit stronger. So what we're going to have to wait and see is, does that lowered pressure and the flight level winds being a little higher mean that it's about to strengthen? There's a very distinct possibility of that happening. So we'll keep you up to date on what the hurricane hunters are showing. And it's not just about the intensity, it's about the track, of course. And one thing that gives us a high amount of confidence based on all the model guidance is this turn to the right that's going to happen as it's approaching the coast. And that's because of this big dip in the jet stream and the frontal system over the middle of the country. That's what's helping to bring it north, but is also what is going to make it turn to the right. And the turn isn't going to be so substantial that you don't have water and wind hazards to the left of the track. I mean, for example, the hurricane warning does include everybody from the Alabama-Florida border all the way over to the Suwannee River. So if you're in Pensacola, if you're in Fort Walton Beach or Destin, you're under a hurricane warning, because even if the center of circulation doesn't go over you, which doesn't appear to be the most likely scenario, you can still be close enough to get hurricane conditions. So be preparing for hurricane conditions. Where are you going to shelter? You got to do that tonight, because the winds of tropical storm force could arrive overnight tonight. Now, the cone shows where the probable track of the center of circulation is going to be. If you take the cone at face value, it would probably make landfall somewhere between Destin and St. George Island. Sometimes the systems can go slightly outside of this cone one way or the other, but the steering currents are pretty well defined. So in all likelihood, it'll make landfall somewhere within here. But again, doesn't mean you can't have impacts outside of the cone as well as inside of the cone. We're going to have the landfall of a major hurricane somewhere in all likelihood in the central part of the Florida Panhandle, but I don't see how we're going to avoid a major storm surge event in the Florida Big Bend area. And this could be a truly historic hurricane in terms of having a strong hurricane come ashore farther to the east than the likes of Ivan and Dennis and Opal in the past. Farther east like Kate, but stronger. And then we're going to have a tropical storm coming through Georgia and the Carolinas. So this is not just going to be a coastal event. It's going to be an inland one as well. But starting at the coast, it's overnight tonight when we believe that there's a possibility of the winds of tropical storm force starting. It may take till later in the morning, Mike Bettis in Apalachicola, but I would urge people to wrap up their preparations before they go to bed tonight, get into that safe place that they're going to spend the duration of the storm in the aftermath, hopefully not in any place where they've been told to evacuate from storm surge.
Yeah. Well, the evacuation zones here have all been asked to leave there, Dr. Nab. And there are people here that have stopped us and said, "Hey, how bad's it going to be?" There are people that are literally on the fence here, whether or not they should leave or not. What would you say to them? To me, there's no reasonable rationale to stay, in my opinion.
You only have to look to history, and I'll tell you a couple of quick personal stories from my own history. I've talked with people who have decided to stay, and those few lucky folks who have survived the hurricane storm surge and then told me afterwards what it was like. They told me, I am never going through that again. I truly feared for my life. I'm lucky to be alive. But there are a lot more people who didn't even live to tell what it was like. They're not around to tell us what it was like to die in a storm surge. It's been the deadliest hurricane hazard of all. It has taken hundreds and hundreds of lives, more than any other hazard. And the only way to ensure survival from storm surge is to get out. It's amazing how dangerous and deadly water is.
Yeah. And we think that this could create a historic storm surge in this part of Florida, maybe the likes of which we've just never seen before, folks. And so there may be no comparison. So doing a comparison of past storms may not be logical at this point. So now that the bridge is still open on US 98, you can still go east. You can evacuate to Tallahassee or farther if you want to. If you want to go west, you can do that and then go north. Roads are still open. There is still time for you to leave, and we urge you to do that. Hurricane Michael's a major hurricane bearing down on Florida, and we've got full coverage for you coming back right here on the Weather Channel.
Millions of people across the country are losing weight and improving their health. What do we all have in common? Nutrisystem.
Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. It's your favorite foods made healthier.
No counting, no measuring, no weigh-ins.
Order your 28-day plan and save 40% off every program.
Join the millions who have lost weight and improved their health. Go online right now.
Order Nutrisystem now, and for a limited time, save 40% off every program, plus get probiotic shakes free.
Dun, dun, dun. Come make a wish and make them bounce. Pride on your lips, come make that sound. Drop it, drop it, drop it, drop it, drop it, drop it, drop it. You gotta work it, work it, work it, work it, work it.
Ready to Juvederm it? Correct age-related volume loss in cheeks with Juvederm Voluma XC. Add fullness to lips with Juvederm Ultra XC. And smooth moderate to severe lines around the nose and mouth with Juvederm XC. Tell your doctor if you have a history of scarring or are taking medicines that decrease the body's immune response or that can prolong bleeding. Common side effects include injection site redness, swelling, pain, tenderness, firmness, lumps, bumps, bruising, discoloration, or itching. As with all fillers, there is a rare risk of unintentional injection into a blood vessel, which can cause vision abnormalities, blindness, stroke, temporary scabs, or scarring. Juvederm it. Talk to your doctor about the Juvederm collection of fillers.
If you have moderate to severe psoriasis or psoriatic arthritis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats differently. For psoriasis, 75% clearer skin is achievable with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. For psoriatic arthritis, Otezla is proven to reduce joint swelling, tenderness, and pain. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
I don't keep track of regrets. I never count the wrinkles. And I don't add up the years. But what I do count on is staying happy and healthy. So I add protein, vitamins, and minerals to my diet with Boost.
New Boost High Protein Nutritional Drink now has 33% more high-quality protein, along with 26 essential vitamins and minerals your body needs, all with guaranteed great taste.
The upside? I'm just getting started.
Boost High Protein. Be up for life.
Get out. Deadly storm surge could extend miles inland in some places.
Hurricane Michael is forecast to be the most destructive storm to hit the Florida Panhandle in decades. Hurricane Michael poses a deadly threat, and as it grows stronger, we can expect it to make landfall as a major Category 3 storm on Wednesday along the Gulf Coast.
Leave. We do these evacuations for a good reason. It keeps you and your family safe, and it doesn't put any of the responders at risk.
We've got a major Category 3 hurricane bearing down on Florida in a state that is on edge tonight. And we've got team coverage for you right here on the Weather Channel. I'm meteorologist Mike Bettis, live in Apalachicola, Florida. Meteorologist Alex Wilson live in Panama City for you tonight. And, of course, our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb, tracking Michael's every move. Let's begin with Dr. Knabb tonight. Dr. Knabb, with the latest advisory, we still have a hurricane with 120-mile-per-hour winds. Is there any good news we can give the citizens of Florida tonight? Because I'm sure many of them are very anxious, anticipating what is going to be left of their state after this thing makes landfall tomorrow.
Well, there's no sugarcoating that this is a grim situation and it could be historic in terms of the wind and the water impacts. I'll try to highlight some silver linings here. One of them is that it's not going to be stalling or meandering over the Florida Panhandle for days, and nobody's going to have to endure that. Because the steering currents are such that it's going to be moving along, but it's not speeding along really quickly, and it's large enough and strong enough that you've got to deal with hours of really strong wind, storm surge, heavy rainfall, the tornado threat. All of those hazards at the coast and inland are going to be testing our nerves, and they're going to be, quite frankly, scary. But the way to channel that fear and to survive the storm and be getting through the aftermath safely is to take safe shelter, take the time that's still left to do whatever you can to be in the safest place possible. And like Mike Bettis has been sharing, so has Alex Wilson, that you've got to evacuate as local officials have told you to do so. And if you haven't done that yet and they're telling you there's still time to go, then get out to save yourself from the storm surge hazard. And I don't see anything that would cause this hurricane to substantially or significantly weaken. If anything, it looks like it is on course to at least maintain its intensity or perhaps get a little stronger because the pressure has continued to go down. As the latest intermediate public advisory shows, 953 millibars, and that's based on recent aircraft data. There's every indication that the winds will at least stay where they are or perhaps get a little stronger. We're going to be dealing with something near the Cat 3-4 threshold when it comes ashore. And on the water vapor imagery, you can see the big weather system in the middle of the country that is helping to draw Michael northward and will eventually curve it northeastward across portions of Georgia and the Carolinas. But now, if we look on the radar, it's getting dangerously close. You can even see the eye itself on the radar there in the east central Gulf of Mexico, and some of the rain bands are not all that far offshore. So when we've been saying that overnight tonight, Alex, is the time when the winds of tropical storm force could first arrive, well, this is getting more real by the moment. So it really is critical for people to have completed their evacuation, their preparation, and be in shelter when they go to bed tonight, because tomorrow's going to be a very different kind of day.
Yeah, an absolutely beautiful sunset, but you open up your weather app and you take a look at that radar and you can see now we're really getting closer to the time of those outer rain bands, as you just showed, about 75 miles to our south and east. Things will really be ramping up as we go through the overnight. So that's when the winds will really begin to pick up. We'll be up against those tropical storm force winds. Tomorrow, though, that's the big event, unfortunately, here for the Panama City Beach area, and when we will be watching for those winds gusting 90, 100 plus miles per hour. So we've got a big day in store, and we think it's just about certain that we're going to lose power here in the Panama City Beach area. Widespread power outages. So that's why we've been telling people, make sure you have everything ready. Make sure those cell phones are charged. Make sure the batteries are on hand, the portable batteries for your cell phone. Make sure they're plugged in and charged so that you have everything you need. Hopefully the car is gassed up, because at this point, the gas stations are closed and you've got the gas you need for generators and you're going to run those properly. There's our power outage forecast showing just how widespread we think they'll be as we go through the coming days, and not just here in coastal parts of the Florida Panhandle, but well inland, even into sections of Georgia, possibly North Georgia through the Carolinas. We'll be up against some at least scattered power outages. A lot of people have left town. They heard the warning. They don't want to go with that storm surge threat, the long-term power outage. And Mike, we hope this time around they brought their pets with them as well. Seems like a ghost town, though, here in Panama City today. So I think a lot of people got that memo. got out. And again, there's still a little time to go. If you're still wavering, go.
Yeah, and the same deal here in Apalachicola. You still have time. The weather's not that bad right now. It's a little breezy, but the winds haven't met the criteria where they closed the bridge yet, and so I think you can get across the causeway without any issue. So if you've got any hesitation right now, just go ahead. Think about all the things that could work against you if you stay. Storm surge is going to be a very big issue in a place like Apalachicola. We're forecasting up to 12 feet of storm surge here, so you could go underwater. We're forecasting wind gusts over 100 miles an hour, so you could lose power. Trees could be down in your neighborhood, could fall on your home. We've got the possibility of tornadoes, and we've got the possibility of flooding rainfall as well. So there are so many things to disrupt your life and harm you that there are very few arguments to stay, but a lot of arguments to leave. Okay, so that's what we would urge you to do, and this is an area that's under a mandatory evacuation right now. For some perspective, by the way, they're actually leaving the hospital here. Memorial Hospital is closing down. They're moving the patients out, and all the staff will be leaving. At Sacred Heart Hospital over in Port St. Joe, they're leaving as well. There'll be no medical services for you. So heaven forbid that you need medical services. They won't be available to you here in places like Franklin County. And that was a concern of the sheriff. We talked with him earlier. You know, the emergency first responders will be here, but what happens if, even one of them has a medical emergency? There won't be anybody to take care of you. So the best thing that you can do is just leave, put your worries behind, go to a place that's safe, and ride it out there. And then when all is clear, you can come back. And let's keep this real, okay? After the storm is gone, there's going to be a lot of things that we contend with, including extensive power outages and a lot of cleanup. It'll be warm. It's going to be hot. It's Florida. You're not going to have air conditioning because you're not going to have power. And I think for a lot of people, Dr. Knapp, we're so anxious to get back to our home, but there may be very little reason to get back. I know we're all curious. What does my home look like? Did my neighborhood survive? But oftentimes when you come back, it's such an inconvenience to come back, and people live in miserable conditions until, at the very least, power comes back on and water is restored.
The aftermath of a hurricane can be a lot more lengthy and nasty than people realize, and it can take a long time for things to get back even close to normal enough for people to be able to go back if they've evacuated or taken shelter somewhere else. But first things first, we got to survive the storm. And a little bit ago, I had an opportunity to talk to Florida Governor Rick Scott. If you're a resident of Florida, listen to what your governor had to say.
First off, thanks for the opportunity to be on. But, it's frustrating. I've been traveling all along the Panhandle today and yesterday, and I'm still frustrated that some people are not evacuating. And, I just think about this. I think so many people are not thinking about the storm surge. It's feet. it's not inches. It's 9. I think it's 9 to 13 feet. Some of them, but feet of storm surge. And so, try to think about. I'm a dad and I'm a granddad, and I love my family. I want everybody to make sure they're thinking about their families right now, because this is a devastating storm that we're going to have.
Yeah, and Governor, I share that frustration. And of course, you and I have talked in the past when we've had past Florida hurricane threats, and it's always seemingly a challenge to get everybody to listen to those local officials. Now, I'm sure you've been on some of the briefings with the National Hurricane Center, the local forecast offices, the state and local emergency managers as part of FEMA's hurricane liaison team. Convince folks why the emergency managers are making these evacuation decisions in an informed way.
Well, here's what they're looking at. First off, we're going to have 100 plus, 110 plus mile an hour winds. That's devastating by itself. We're going to have 12 inches of rain in a very short period of time, so we're going to get flooding. That's bad enough by itself. But what I think people don't realize is on top of that, depends on where you are, we're going to get 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, 9 feet, 13 feet of water flushing into your house and then coming back out. You will not survive this. I saw this after Irma down the Keys, where we had about 9 foot of storm surge. The water comes in, it takes everything with it out. Everything comes out unless it's really heavy or tied down. It's gone. You as an individual have no ability to survive that. You can't do it. So I want everybody to just stop and say, I love my family. Okay, I want to continue to see my family, and if you believe that way, you've got to get out of harm's way. The people that are doing these evacuations locally, they're thinking about your safety. They're thinking about your family. So the wind is bad enough, the rain's bad enough, the flooding is going to happen. But the worst thing in my mind is the unbelievable storm surge that we're going to get.
And, we try to convince people to be afraid of the water. And if you're not at the beachfront and you're told to evacuate, we've heard of people who live along bays, who live a few miles inland from the coast. They have a storm surge problem, too, in some locations, correct?
Right. If you look at the Big Bend area of our state, it's really shallow and it's really flat. We're going to see this water come in for miles. We've done an entire evacuation for our county. Taylor County, the entire county is low, so we're evacuating the entire county. And here's the other thing people don't realize with this: it was when the storm surge comes in, you don't have time to react at that point. It's going to be too late. If it's getting 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet high, and it's continuing to come in, there's one. You're not going to get out. There's nothing to get you out after that. There won't be any high water vehicles to get you out. There's nobody that's going to be able to get you out at that point. So if you wait till the storm surge starts, it's too late. You've got to get out right now, and you've got to get away from the coast, and you've got to listen to if they say that you need to evacuate a mile in, you need to evacuate a mile in or 2 miles in, whatever they say. They have maps. They're doing this based on very good information. So listen to them. I want everybody in my state to be safe.
Governor Rick Scott of the state of Florida pleading with folks to evacuate as local officials have instructed them to do to be safe from the storm surge. If that doesn't convince you, if you are wavering on whether or not you're going to evacuate from storm surge, or if you know somebody who has been told to evacuate and hasn't gone yet, come to the screen. Watch what Carl Parker has to show you.
As Hurricane Michael is approaching, one of our big worries is the level of storm surge flooding that's going to occur. And one way that we can tell how bad it might be is by looking at the National Hurricane Center's potential storm surge flooding maps. These maps consider the size of the storm, the intensity of the storm, and the nature of the coastline. And so when we zoom in and take a look at Port St. Joe, we see that there could be large areas of the town where we see up to 6 feet of storm surge flooding and maybe as much as 9 feet and above in those red areas. Then when we take a look at St. Mark's, we see widespread areas of up to 9 feet in orange there of storm surge flooding and over 9 feet in red, including in downtown St. Mark's. That's a terrific amount of surge flooding, and you wouldn't want to be anywhere near the coast in that case. So what exactly does that look like? Well, when we get up to 3 feet of surge flooding, at that point, cars begin to float. It's too late to drive out at that point. And remember, this water has a lot of power. It's got a lot of force. It's generally moving very quickly, and so you can't easily navigate it. And by the time it gets up to 6 feet, you're talking about life-threatening storm surge flooding. There's so much power in this water, and there's a lot of debris in the water. You're just not going to be able to get out of this easily at all. And when the water gets up to above 9 feet, you're looking at a terrific amount of storm surge flooding. The only way that you'd be able to survive this is if you evacuated vertically, if you could somehow get to a second level. But if you couldn't, you'd have no way to be able to survive this. So when emergency managers tell you, you've got to get out, you've got to evacuate, please listen to them and evacuate. This is a level of flooding you don't want to mess with, and this is what we are expecting along some parts of the Florida Gulf Coast.
How dangerous and deadly water can be. And here's a taste of things to come. Just on the outer periphery of Hurricane Michael, we've had some storm surge flooding in St. Petersburg, Florida. So this is way down in the Tampa Bay area. Just shows you how vulnerable all of the communities along the Gulf of Mexico are, and in the bays. You don't have to be right on the Gulf front in order to experience storm surge. And look at what storm surge is expected far and wide, all the way from the Florida-Alabama border, the Pensacola Bay area, all the way around down to the Tampa Bay area, where the Hurricane Center has been forecasting 2 to 4 feet of storm surge flooding above normally dry ground, and you saw the ramifications of that. So it's already starting, even though the tropical storm force winds haven't even arrived. So Alex, I hope folks in the Florida Panhandle are seeing what can happen even in a place like St. Petersburg that isn't taking a direct hit and never will, how much worse it could be along the lines of what Carl Parker just showed us.
Right. You know, storm surge, one of the scariest things. And unfortunately, you hear those tales of the people who maybe got out, but obviously went through some harrowing moments. I think that also convinced people to get to a safe spot. We've got much more. Our team coverage continues as we track Michael next.
Will you stay for practice, Mom?
Yeah. I love the soccer.
Are you crazy? You love her.
Me? Catherine.
Wow.
Never-ending Pasta Bowl is back at Olive Garden, starting at $10.99. Come in for over 100 combinations of pastas, sauces, and toppings, with everyone's favorite chicken Alfredo, plus unlimited salad and breadsticks. Only for a limited time at Olive Garden. Today's Best Western rewards you in a flash. Get a free night fast with points that never expire at over 4,200 hotels worldwide. And get double rewards points on every stay. Book now at bestwestern.com.
At the dinner table, nobody talks about football. I like to teach them there's more important things in life. My name is Ted Ginn. I eat Stouffer's lasagna, and I hunger to coach athletes into men. Stouffer's, what are you hungry for?
New Alka-Seltzer Plus Power Max Gels. Concentrated power, 25% smaller pill. Max your cold relief with Alka-Seltzer Plus.
January 21st is Squirrel Appreciation Day, an entire day dedicated to squirrels. That's nuts. At AARP, we think you deserve your own day. Yeah, you. After all, you're the one working and saving for the future. So let AARP help, from planning and budgeting to getting a deal on your next trip. AARP is here to help you stretch your dollar further. Our furry friends will have their day, but today is all yours. Take on today and every day with AARP.
These books are not bestsellers, but each tells a financial story, and one is about you. Bankers and lenders are reading and judging it, whether good or not so good. Shouldn't you read it too? Now, for the first time, you can, free. See how your story is being told with your free Experian Financial Profile. Only at Experian.com/profile.
The following is based on reality. You may be offended.
I've fallen. Please help me. Help. Someone, please help me.
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. With Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
This is Life Alert. I'm calling for help right now.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately. And batteries never need charging. Life Alert saves a life from a catastrophe every 11 minutes.
Call 1-800-814-1954. That's 1-800-814-1954. Call now. 1-800-814-1954.
Every season, every storm, every time you watch. Trust in the Weather Channel.
A flood watch is in effect. Currently in our area, 68 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, showers early, then cloudy overnight. Low 48. Chance of rain 60%. Wednesday, partly cloudy. High 56. Winds west-northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
I'm a native Georgian, and so this is my first major hurricane as a Floridian. And so I'm like, let's stick it out. All the other locals are not freaking, they're not freaking out. I'm just gonna stay put. And if I have to, I'll just travel north tonight if need be.
People getting ready on the Gulf Coast and Panhandle region of the state of Florida and inland areas, as well as Hurricane Michael is literally on our doorstep. And our Alex Wilson is in Panama City Beach, Florida. And, you know, the outer bands are not all that far from you. And it'll be overnight tonight when you're going to start to feel a little breezier winds, some rain, and maybe even some claps of thunder. There's some lightning in those outer bands offshore.
Yeah, we've been looking offshore to see if we can see any of that lightning. Haven't picked up any of it yet, but what we have been talking about is the noticeable increase in the wind just within the last 15 minutes or so. Really beginning to notice those the breezier gusts picking up. Now, obviously, we know this is nothing compared to what we're going to see tomorrow, but in a very calm afternoon and early evening, now that we've been about a hour since sunset, we have really seen those winds noticeably pick up. Rain still offshore, but as Dr. Nab mentioned, that rain will be advancing in along with some stronger gusts overnight. So we think tropical storm force winds overnight along with rain, perhaps some thunder, and we'll keep watching to see if we can pick up any of that lightning. But we know the worst is yet to come. Winds are going to really be cranking during the day tomorrow, and it's going to take those winds probably gusting over 20 miles an hour now, and will be gusting over 100 miles an hour likely as we've got Category 3 Hurricane Michael bearing down with time left to strengthen and expected to strengthen. So Dr. Nab, something you talk about is a lot of times people live in these high rises or these condo buildings and they say, well, I'm up on the 8th floor. I don't have to worry about surge. That's not going to be an issue. If anything, the lowest level of the condo will see water. But when you go up higher, you're exposing yourself more to the wind.
Yeah, so let's play this out, fantasize reality a little bit. Let's say you decide to stay in that high rise against the recommendations of local officials. True, you get up to the upper floors, you will not directly experience the storm surge, but the higher you go, the stronger the winds get. And if you go 20, 25 stories up, you'd be getting another category stronger. But think about this too. You get through the storm, let's say everything goes okay and no debris flies through your windows or anything like that. Then afterward, you're going to be isolated in that high rise. Power will be out. The community could very well be flooded and blocked, and you could be isolated on your own for days. And if anything happens to you, help can't come. That's the real risk of staying in a high rise.
Right, you know, that's what the first responders have said. You know, they want to get out there and rescue people when they can, but there becomes a point when you're dealing with a storm like Michael that it's just not possible and completely unsafe to do so. And so many times we see that with surge. But as you mentioned, Dr. Nab, you're in one of those high rises, a piece of debris hits your window, you've got a nasty cut. EMT may not be able to get to you.
Yeah, you know, people have died in many past tropical storms and hurricanes because something happens to them, a cut, a heart attack, something flies through the window, somehow you get injured. What if it's your child, your baby? You know, there's all kinds of things that can happen and help can't come. And here's a real interesting statistic that can be very scary when you think about it. At the ground, friction is slowing down the winds of a major hurricane compared to what you're going to experience at the top of a high rise or even just a few floors up. It gets stronger, friction gets less, and the winds get stronger. And so let's say this comes ashore at somewhere at the Category 3, 4 threshold. If you're up 20, 25 stories, you're going to be experiencing the Cat 4, 5 threshold. And anywhere in between, stuff could be flying through the windows. It's just not a safe place to be. You don't want to be isolated in a location. And that's assuming you survive these kinds of winds with debris flying through the air and through the windows.
Right. So, as we've been saying, time is not out. If you're still wavering, if you're watching us right now in these areas and thinking, I don't know, do I want to? And you can go somewhere, go. You just mentioned your children, your pets as well. Remember, everybody, get them to safety and just ride this out of harm's way. Dr. Knabb, we go back to the Carolinas, and we saw what they dealt with in Florence in terms of the epic rainfall out of that one, as well as some wind damage. People are asking, is Michael going to almost add insult to injury as it takes that turn, moves over the Carolinas? Could it bring more flooding rainfall to these areas?
Yeah, and people asking in the Carolinas, what's this going to be like compared to Florence? Well, one thing that could happen in a place like Charlotte, North Carolina, is that you could possibly end up getting stronger winds out of Michael than you did Florence. And you could not only possibly experience stronger winds and the power outages, you could also get flash flooding yet again. Remember all the flooding we had in Charlotte, and we lost lives in cars in the flooding in Charlotte? So Columbia, Charlotte, Wilmington, all of you could experience the inland flooding that causes flooding that could be dangerous if you don't stay off the roads. And the power outages could happen again. Stay safe as we continue to track Michael with our live team coverage.
The Lab is brought to you by State Farm. There for when things go wrong, but also here to help life go right.
Wish you were here to see how bright the human spirit can shine. To see that no matter what nature does, people will do more. With one of the industry's largest catastrophe response teams, State Farm will always be among the first to arrive and the last to leave. To help show that human nature is greater than nature, State Farm, here to help recovery go right.
To err is human. To anticipate is Lexus. Experience the Lexus RX with advanced safety. Standard. Experience amazing.
If you have psoriasis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not a cream. It's a pill that treats moderate to severe plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clear skin is achievable. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
There's enough Coffee Mate pumpkin spice flavor for one more cup.
Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, every time.
You know I can only do paper, right?
Oh, because the
Coffee Mate seasonal flavors are here.
It's like a mitt with no fingers.
I wanted more from my COPD medicine. That's why I've got the power of 1, 2, 3 medicines with Trelegy, the only FDA-approved 3-in-1 COPD treatment.
Trelegy, the power of 1, 2, 3. Trelegy, 1, 2, 3. Trelegy.
With Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3, I'm breathing better. Trelegy works 3 ways: to open airways, keep them open, and reduce inflammation for 24 hours of better breathing.
Trelegy won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Trelegy is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trelegy more than prescribed. Trelegy may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Think your COPD medicine is doing enough? Maybe you should think again. Ask your doctor about once daily Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3.
Trelegy, 1, 2, 3.
Save at Trelegy.com.
If it feels like you live in the bathroom with recurring constipation and belly pain, talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Yes, Linzess treats adults with IBS with constipation or chronic constipation. Linzess can help relieve your belly pain and lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements. Linzess is not a laxative. It helps you get ahead of your recurring constipation. Do not give Linzess to children less than 6, and it should not be given to children 6 to less than 18. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. So say yes to help for recurring constipation, yes to help for belly pain. Talk to your doctor and say yes, Linzess.
Hurricane Michael is a massive storm.
This is a very healthy hurricane.
This is going to bring significant impact.
We're just hunkered down and gonna see what happens.
Welcome back in. Our live team coverage continues as we track Hurricane Michael, now a major hurricane, with all eyes set on a landfall tomorrow here along the Florida Gulf Coast, somewhere along the Panhandle, likely very close to where I am in Panama City Beach, Florida. I'm meteorologist Alex Wilson. Meteorologist Mike Bettis is in Apalachicola. We'll be checking in with him in just a moment. We've also got our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. He's been watching this since before it even formed, knowing that the Gulf of Mexico is where we watch during the month of October. And sure enough, Michael took advantage of a break in the shear and warm enough Gulf temperatures to develop and now strengthen. It could still strengthen as we edge closer and closer to landfall here in the Florida Panhandle. Dr. Knabb, we've been getting a lot of questions on Twitter, Facebook, and other social media today. One of the questions that we got, though, is something that you often talk about. It's a common misnomer that you should tape your windows before a storm moves in.
Yeah, this has been a long-standing practice that we've been trying to get people to stop doing because, first of all, you're not doing yourself any good. Taping the windows does not stop them from breaking. It doesn't make your windows any stronger at all. So at a minimum, it is a waste of time and money. However, it's even worse than that because if you tape the windows, when the windows do break just as easily, then they will break into larger pieces, which are more damaging and more deadly. And some people have actually died standing behind a window with a false sense of security. The window breaks and the big shards of glass come into them and kill them. So you just don't want to do it. You want to cover your windows with, plywood that's been cut to fit or with shutters, but don't tape your windows. And if your windows survive the event, you're going to be scraping tape off of those windows in 80-something degree weather for days and days. I did it when I was a kid, and I wish I hadn't. Okay, so we've learned our lesson not to tape our windows. So we have to do everything possible to get ready for the wind hazard because this is going to be a life-threatening wind event. Major hurricanes are to be treated in terms of the wind hazard like a tornado. You're going to have to shelter in a strong structure out of flood-prone areas as you would for a tornado. And the Weather Service may very well end up issuing what's called an extreme wind warning when the core of the hurricane gets close, which is essentially a short-fused eye wall warning for tornadic type winds. And it is entirely possible that when we get the 10 p.m. Central Time advisory, Alex, that the winds will come up because we continue to see the flight level winds from the hurricane hunters going up and up and up. And I wouldn't even rule out this becoming Category 4 before coming ashore.
Yeah, something that people absolutely need to be prepared for and be thinking about. And again, if you are, trying to decide still, we've been talking about the time for preparation has ended. If you're trying to decide, should I go? I don't know. I think I can ride this out. And you still have the opportunity to go. Maybe best to do so. We're going to be talking about a long-term power outage. It's going to take time for them to get crews in. Initially, you're going to have to clean up all the debris, the downed trees, the downed power lines, the other debris. Then it's going to take time for the power to get restored. Of course, anybody living on the coast, you're going to be up against storm surge, as well as the bay side could deal with the surge, so that life-threatening water rise. The good news is, I would say about 90% of the people in this area at least are gone. You know, Mike, we were at the Target today. They were staying open until 6 o'clock. Word had gotten out that they were the place to go if you needed the last minute batteries or other supplies. And I would say there were probably 10 people in the store altogether, including employees. So I think most people are well out of here.
Yeah. Well, when you live in a place, Alex, that can be very susceptible to water, there's a lot of reason to leave, right? And so there are a lot of places here along the Panhandle and through the Big Bend that are incredibly storm surge prone, some of the most storm surge prone shorelines in all of America. Right, so when you've got a major hurricane like this pushing a lot of water, it's got a lot of inertia to it now, a lot of momentum. It's going to push a lot of rain. It's going to push a lot of water. And so there'll be flooding that comes from rainfall. There'll be flooding that comes from storm surge. And so there are plenty of reasons for you to leave right now. In particular, here in Apalachicola, okay, we are anticipating wind gusts over 50 miles an hour beginning tonight. And then tomorrow, potentially wind gusts over 100 miles an hour. What that means is anticipate trees coming down, anticipate power lines coming down, anticipate losing electricity. Also tomorrow, anticipating many inches of rain. We could be looking at 5 to 8 inches of rain. That'll flood, and then 12 feet of storm surge. All these things working against us and reason to be concerned here along the coastline of Florida. We're going to have more when we come back right here on the Weather Channel. Our team coverage, including the latest from a hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knapp. Stay safe and stay with us.
Olay Regenerist wipes out the competition. Hydrating better than $100, $200, even $400 creams. With our B3 complex, beautiful skin doesn't have to cost a fortune. Olay.
How do you top mac and cheese? Start with 100% clean ingredients, like Vermont white cheddar. Then add bacon, barbecue chicken, or Baja blend. Catering and delivery now available. Panera, food as it should be.
I'm Nathan Weens. I've always loved building furniture. Each piece of wood has its own personality. It's my job to bring it out. That's why I trust Varathane.
Varathane Stain is engineered to give true color in one coat, and our triple-thick polyurethane protects with the durability of 3 coats in just 1, making it easy for anybody to get the ultimate in color and protection in less time.
I always start projects knowing how I'm going to finish.
Don't just finish it, Varathane it. Available at the Home Depot.
Oscar Mayer Deli Fresh ham has no added nitrates, or artificial preservatives. Now, Deli Fresh flavors for everyone, like those who like sweet, those who prefer heat, and those who